Amnam Yodua, I think that's where we're up to. 4 lines down.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Again, as we mentioned many times, although everything it's a continuum, but you have to have the hachana, the introduction to every stage. The general topic is the principle of makif. Makif it represents two different realities. On the one hand, it speaks of its content and gives it spirit and meaning. On the other hand, it itself cannot be known, and it is completely aloof above its content. And we spoke about this, and in our world, the Gashmis, a home is a very good means by which to understand it. A home enables us to participate, to take part of everything that's in the home. But the home itself is not something that we actually appreciate or experience. We experience all the things that the home provides, but not the home itself. Although, as we pointed out, that the makif of the home lifts, raises, and gives a spirit to everything that is contained in the home. I don't think we need to elaborate on this because we discussed it several times already. And we've already explained that there is madreges im makif. Makif means that which encompasses. Encompassment, by definition, means it encompasses many things. The reason these things, each one is an entity unto itself. The reason that we say that it is encompassed is that the fact that it is encompassed brings out the spirit in the thing that's being encompassed. So in order, okay, that's again, I'm not going to go into Sholim because we'll discuss this already. The point that's being explained to us right now is that in order And the makif should be effective, bring out the richness of that which is contained within. There has to be some kind of interrelationship, some kind of a recognition from the makif perspective of all the things that are contained in it. If the makif is totally above, then the makif does not identify with the things that are contained therein, and the things that are contained therein do not benefit from being in the makif. So that the makif that actually brings out and enriches its content has to be a makif that appreciates content. Which means it's a makif that has cognizance of what it can affect. Not a makif that is above and it is in its own reality. But it's a makif that appreciates how it can be effective on things that are contained therein. Not only how it can be effective, but in fact, its own sense of value, its own sense of purpose is fulfilled by what it, how it enriches, how it affects its content. This is a makif that identifies with what it embraces, what its content. And that's why it has an effect. That's why there is a communication between the makif and its content. To put it very simply, I have to put it down, so to speak, in a factual level. On a factual level, by us, while we are sitting at the table and learning and eating, whatever we are doing, we are keenly aware of the house that surrounds us. And this is what enables us to sit calmly at the table and be able to focus on what is on the function at hand. Which means the fact that we're able to focus on the function at hand, that means that the function at hand is affected by the fact that it's encompassed in this home. You can tell by the way the table is standing that it is in a home. You can tell by the way the sefer is lying on the table, but in the fact that it is in a home. This is what the Rebbe says in the very top two lines on Summer Base, in Summer Base. That this makif, this lower makif, relates to world, which means it recognizes the significance of world and actually provides an inspiration for world. This is what he says in the second line, that a ha'ora from this makif comes through in the neshamas. That's the way in the world. The neshamas experience the presence of this makif. Because this makif identifies with the things that it encompasses. This is called the makif at the level of Tehillah Tato. Tehillah Tato means the lower, as we have translated, the whole of purity. The reason this is called purity is that it comes directly from the source without being structured by world limits. All right. Now we're going to the end of the second line of Summer Base.
At the level of world, the makif could be before world, before the makif influences the world. It could be touched by the world.
No. Okay. Then in the second line, Avo bechinas ta'tira ta'ilo. But the above is an introduction that enables us to understand that which is higher than world. Bechinas ta'tira ilo. Again, Bechina means that which has an influence that presents itself in an untouchable manner. The aspect, the sense of Tehillah Eloh. There is no way to touch it, no way to define it. Yet, it has an influence. Okay, now we're going to the third line. This bechina of Tehillah Eloh, Shezeo bechinas ha'yigul hagadol, which is the aspect of the Yigul Hagadol, the great encirclement, Shelifnei HaKav. The Kav also has Pnimi and Makif. But then there is the Yigul Hagadol that is before the Kav. What is the meaning of what's Lifnei HaKav, before the Kav? Before the Kav means it's an encirclement that does not express itself in worldly terms. It does not identify what its mission in the world is. And what it's trying to affect the world with. So now we are left with the challenge eventually to understand if this is a makif that does not speak in worldly terms, how then is it significant to us in the world? How are we aware of it? This is what we are going to try to recognize here for the following lines. Okay, so let's learn inside. I'm starting again from the second line at the end, the second line, and we'll go straight. Abo bechinas v'hiru ilo. But that bechina, that aspect, which is called hiru ilo, the upper divine presence. Shezeo bechinas hayigol hagodol, which is that bechina, which is that aspect. It's called the yigol hagodol, the great encirclement. The great encirclement, shelifnei hakav, which is before the kav, which is not felt in the kav directly, which is not felt in our seichel and midas directly. It's a super presence. This super presence in some way is also part of the reality of the world. And that is what we're going to try to focus in and identify. Okay. Yigol hagodol shelifnei hakav. Now, where does this yigol hagodol come from? This yigol hagodol comes from the divine reality itself. The divine reality is not part of the creation. The divine reality is actually representing the creator. It is important for us to focus in and bear in mind, the creator does not need to be created. If it is not created, then what is its presence mean? How is that presence effective in the world? And the explanation to that is, as we already touched upon it, the Creator wants to create, wants to bring into the creation his own spirit, his own greatness. Although that greatness is not of world quality, but he wants to affect the world with his greatness. Therefore, he allows the world to become aware of that which is really superworldly. This is what is identified here in the Maimon as Yigul HaGodel Shemifnei HaKav. Yigul HaGodel Shemifnei HaKav means Yigul HaGodel the way it is, part of the divine reality itself, not as part of the creation. Okay, now in the middle of the third line, Hagam shezehu gam kein b'bchinas makim le'elomis. Although that this Yigul HaGodel also provides a makif element for world. After Tzimtzum. Since it's after the Tzimtzum, that means that there is an effort, a focus on world. That's what the Tzimtzum is about. So on the one hand, it's a makiv lo ilom, it's a makiv that's focused on world. But this is the focus on world from a perspective of the Creator himself. He does not have shaychus, a relationship to world. Because this is a perspective of world from a higher, from the Creator's sense. There's no world element in it. What is the difference in the perception of world as it is from the Creator's perspective versus as it is from the world itself, he created? The difference is that anything that is perceived from the created level is recognized as something that has been brought into existence. Since it's brought into existence, it can be identified with all dimensions. Whereas when we spoke about the Creator, he spoke about something which does not go through the process of being brought into existence. It is there by virtue of its own truth. Therefore, it does not have any dimensions. There is no beginning. There's no process of it coming into being. And the Rashab is also a makiv le'ilomis. It also has an effect on world, but it has no shaychus to world. Because it has no worldly aspect. Worldly aspect, the first principle is it came into being. This does not have the coming into being aspect. This is a perception that is true on the Creator's level. For this, I have to resort to the masharim that we have. In a human being, we have, as we know, generally speaking, 10 functional koiches, and so forth. Above that, we have the koiches of rotzen and noinik. There's a fundamental difference between the rotzen and noinik phenomenon and the other koiches starting from the functional koiches. The difference that we can identify is Chochmah and Bina, even Chochmah, as we said, is something that we discover. We recognize that we have something. Rotzen and Noinig, this is part and parcel of the reality itself. It's not something which gets discovered, not something that gets developed. This is the life element itself. This Rotzen and Noinig aspect that is part and parcel of the reality of the nefesh is not identifiable on the conscious level. We're not even aware of this Rotzen and Noinig aspect. We're aware of everything from Chochmah on down. What we understood, what we experienced, and so forth. The Rotzen and Noinig aspect, we're hardly aware of it. Again, I have to resort to demonstration, to the mashal. As we mentioned many times, we open our eyes and we see the big world. And somehow we are interested in what we see. But we're not even aware that we're interested in it. It just grabs us. We're not interested in it by virtue of what we identify. We're interested in it because it just draws us, the reality itself. So this is a makif element in our own awareness. But it's not a makif that speaks in functional terms. Since we're aware we have to do something, nothing to do. It's just the reality itself. This is the pshat in the words, the fourth line, this does not relate to world, which means it doesn't relate to a functional level. And then furthermore, from this does not come forth a ha'ora of any kind of sense Begilui is identifiable, be not even recognizing that we are seeing something. So we have a full-fledged awareness even awareness at the level of our seichel, without identifying what we're aware of, without this sensing the need to identify. It's just a reality. Therefore, there is no gilui, there's no expression from this awareness. Anything that has an expression piques our curiosity. What is it? There's nothing to be curious about. It's just the reality itself. We're not pursuing, we're not curious about. This is the pshat towards the middle of the third, fourth line. From this makif does not come forth a ha'ora, any kind of spark, any kind of illumination, begilui, in an identifiable manner. We experience it and we take it for granted. It is not something that we process with our seichel. This is the pshat. There is no worldly quality to it. There is no coming into being aspect to it. It is a reality as it is unto itself. There is not a statement made by it. Okay, now we're coming to the real deal over here. This is called the makif, the law, and so forth. However, Yodua, it is known. Again, there are several times the word Yodua, and they have to eventually focus in. How is it Yodua if we don't explain it? Yodua, it is known. The shoyvesh hakelim, that the basis and the source, the root of kelim, hu mibechinas oir makiv davka. It is from the bechina, the kelim, the root of the kelim. In other words, what enables there to be kelim is from the enabler of kelim is the makif. And the Rebbe ends the word dafke, which means that that is the only way that kelim can be identified. They can only be identified by the effect of the oil makif. And here we have to resort back, come back to our world, resort to our level Mashali. To do that, we have to try and identify in our own world and our own experience that which we can call oil makif and that which we can call oil panimi.
What was the second thing? Or makif and what?
Oil panimi. Panimi means that which goes into kelim, oil makif that which is above kelim. We will use again very simple demonstrations in our own experience. We have a lake of water. We don't jump into the lake to drink water. We take water out of the lake. And where do we take it? We don't take water out of the lake while we're in the lake. Take water out of the lake and bring into our home. What does our home mean? We have a secure area that is demarcated securely without any external interference, where we can take a cup of water, place it on our table, and know that it's going to stay there as long as we want it to stay there. What makes us so sure about it staying there? It is the fact that it's surrounded by walls. And there's no way to intrude, to break through, to get there. Yes, it's standing on the table and it's very visible, but the table itself is surrounded by the walls of the house. These walls of the house provide the table with a significance, with a power, with a position that is beyond the service of the table. The table becomes as solid as the walls that encompass, that surround it. Because the table is enclosed in this makif of the walls. And the makif of the walls provide the table with a sense of presence, a sense of value, of respect. It's part of the home. Just as you're not going to dismantle the walls, you're not going to move the tables in the house around without recognition, without reckoning.
I'm sorry. The introduction was Maki for Pnimi, and then you gave two mashal in a row, and I don't see a relation between the two. The first mashal was the cup in the lake, and the second mashal is the home with the table. What is the relation between the two mashal?
The cup in the lake is to show us that without the outer walls of the house, the cup in the lake does not stand, even though it's a cup. So that in order that the cup should function as a cup, you need a makif that encompasses it. In the lake itself, it does not function as a cup in a real sense. Okay? I'm
So
glad you pointed it out because I know that the people are listening. Yes, go ahead. Yes.
Yeah,
Laura.
time check, 10-2.
time check. So just to continue Neil's question, so the lake and the cup is a mashal for the tiaru ilah,
Right.
and the wall and the cup for tiharu tata.
That's right.
So the difference between these two.
1 second, before we go on, I just want to say, these are not masholim. These are means for us to relate to it. It's not a mashal for Tirei Lo and Tirei. It's a mashal for the way it is used here in a very limited fashion. Okay, go ahead.
So at least one difference between these two, as you're explaining it today, is that the Tira Ilah has no effect, no appreciable effect on world, whereas Tira Tito does have an appreciable.
No. Tirei Lo does have an appreciable effect on world, but it is not part of world.
But we said it's not the world. I don't mean it doesn't have an effect. I should have said appreciated effect. The world is completely oblivious to Tira Ilah. Is that true?
The world, no, it's
No?
not. It's not true. It's not entirely true. The world is not oblivious. The world does not claim Tirei Lo for itself. It does not claim that this is part of my structure.
But
it's
I'm
not
aware.
oblivious.
I'm aware that it's there.
I'm aware that it's there.
So what is the difference between these two makifim?
The Tirei Lo makif is a makif that does not belong to the structure that is therein, that is in the world. Tiritato belongs there.
What does
Like
that?
with-
What does it mean? Belong? I don't quite understand that
All right,
word in this context.
okay. The table is in the room. The room is in the house. The house is in whatever it is in the neighborhood where it's built. If you were told this table is in this neighborhood, the table is in Crown Heights. That makes sense?
No.
Why not? It is in Crown Heights. Because Crown Heights does not have an effect. It's not the maki for this table. This is not what enables the table to be there. The four walls of the house, yes. This is the maki that is related to it.
So what impact or significance does Crown Heights have to me and the table?
Oh, and the table, nothing. Crown Heights gives you the sense of significance of your being not at the table, but your being in this place, in this neighborhood. The table aspect is much further down.
So in the term that the Tira Ilah has no shaykhas l'olamais, it does belong. It doesn't belong to the world, but it has shaykhs to the world.
That's right. But it has an effect to it.
And both of these are higher than the kav.
Right.
Both of them.
That's right. The kav is when it already comes into on the practical level.
When there's a seder of some sort.
That's right.
You can't just jump from the ilah to the kav.
This expression is jumping from the order into the kav.
I'm saying it appears that you can't do that.
You
You have
cannot. No, that's but I want to explain. I want to explain
Okay.
the significance of it.
Yep.
The significance is very simple. We experience it all the time. We drink water in a cup. And yet we say, even though you drink water from a cup, if you walk in the street and drink water from this cup, we say, this is not appropriate. This is not respectable. Why not? Drink it from a cup. Because to drink from a cup, you have to bring the cup into a house. There has to be the various levels that identify your functions. I mentioned many times, I remember in Paris, people used to ride bicycles and eat from a big baguette. You know what a baguette is? The French bread. He's driving a bicycle in the middle of Paris and eating baguette. I was thinking, as a child, I said, that's respectable. This is odd. All right. This is the meaning of the the Makifim, the order of Makifim. Okay, so I have my Frenchman over here. You know what a baguette is, right?
Well, French baguette, when it's fresh, it's very good.
Oh, okay.
And also, you had croissant. You remember croissant?
No, I don't know what that is.
It's a pastry, very
A
famous.
pastry.
But-
I didn't eat pastry in Paris because they're not necessarily kosher. But baguette, I know what that is.
Did you like it?
Yep.
It was good, huh?
Oh, excellent. But,
But you did not eat it riding on a bicycle.
no. I wouldn't dare. I wouldn't even consider it.
In the mashal, we had the table in the house, but by the nimshal, it's like the sky and the earth.
Right.
And by the mashal, they're both of human making. And so it's very easy to feel like the table would be out of place anywhere else and how the house provides for it. But I'm guessing we need to sense how the sky is similarly provision for the world, like the house is a provision for the table, or no?
You know, in truth is, yes, it is true. Let us focus in on that question. It's a very, very deep and profound question. We have the earth. On the earth, we have identified sections called counties, called cities, and in the cities we identified neighborhoods and so forth. And ultimately, we build homes and we live there. At the point when we built a home, and we actually live in the home, I'll go straight to the point. We have not lost the significance of the fact that this home is in a neighborhood, and the neighborhood is within a livable area, and that it's surrounded with all kinds of different developments, and that it is enabled by the broader reality and way it was built and so forth. In other words, when you sit in your home in the middle of Brooklyn, it is true you're in Brooklyn and on Crown Street. But at the same time, you're also in the state of New York. You're also in the country, in the United States. And you're also on the American continent. When you become aware that you're in the American continent, you're not aware of it as you are drinking a cup of water. What's going on?
Alarm, a car alarm.
You're aware of it when you look out to a much broader reality of the world. And you know that this continent is surrounded by the ocean, and on the other side of the ocean is another continent, and so forth. But while you are functioning in your street, you're not aware of a continental accomplishment. The reason that you're not aware, here's the point. The reason you're not aware of a continental accomplishment when you were sitting in your home. After all, it is a reality. But you're not aware of it. The reason for that is you're aware, as you are functioning, you're drinking water, of all the things that enable you to drink this water. Enable you means that all the human contribution that enable you to drink this water. That which Rebbe himself created, you're not aware of. This is, so to speak, a broader reality that you are not contemplating in your activity. You're contemplating, recognizing your activity, that which is humanly contributed, that which is part of the Rebbe's creation, that is not part of the activity in which you are acting.
And that's because it's a makif, a surrounding makif, or we just sort of live it?
Because makif reach of your activity. It is, put it bluntly, it is a makif that you cannot imagine it not being there. You're aware of all of those things that you can imagine it being or not being. And you recognize, oh, it's there. But that which you cannot go beyond its being. You cannot think in terms of it not being, then that you're not aware of its being.
Okay, and was that in today's shir indicated by Ratzon and Tainuk or not?
Ratzon and Tainuk are part of that being.
A level of being that you could not imagine being absent.
Right.
Okay. It is okay.
All right. Thank you, Simon.
Thank you, Rabbi. When I heard that in the shir, I mean, we don't have to get into it, but I just was starting to wonder, what does it mean in Pirkei Avos, Osei Ritzonoi Karatzoncha, like as if to say you have any kind of choice over Ratzon, and where would there even be Bechira left if we're under the makif of Ratzon and Tainug, would seemingly leave no room for lower faculties.
So the answer to that is, Shlemenus, that we human beings have a Yetzer Hara that does not always make sense. As a matter of fact, most of the times it doesn't make sense. When we say, I say Ritzencho Kirtzoin, or Ritzein Kirtzencho, Rebbe's will is that which enriches our lives. This is what makes our lives really, real, meaningful. Yet, we feel constrained by the fact that we have to follow his will. We have to act according to what he directs us to act with, rather than being on the wild and make our own choices.
Right. My question was more like, if Ratzon is reality itself, how would there be anything that would counter that? How would I dream up doing something counter to reality? I walk on my feet. I never dream of walking on my hands. I'm breathing continuously. I never dream of holding my breath and not breathing. This is reality per se. So what, doing his will, not doing his will?
We're walking on our feet. We accept our duties on earth to enhance and affect the area in which we live. How was America discovered? America is a separate continent from Europe, separated by a huge ocean. Nobody even knew that it existed. People took little boats, relatively speaking, by our standards, and went into the huge ocean, risking their lives to see what there is. In other words, this was discovered, you could say, by divine providence. There was no process, human process, that can be explained how it is discovered. So that it is not correct to say that we always were walking on earth and we knew step by step where we were going. Much of our history and much of what we have today came to be by divine providence or whatever was the cause. The point is certainly not by step walking of the human being. So therefore, to say that the human being is always on a solid ground and walks step by step is just not correct, historically speaking. And even in our own lives, on a day-to-day basis, this is a very interesting principle. You wake up in the morning. You're comfortable in your bed. But you force yourself to say, no, but I have to get out. Why do I have to get out? I'm comfortable. I have to get out because I have to participate in that which is beyond where I'm now, right now. If we did not have the idea of participating in that which is beyond of where we are, we would stay in bed the whole day. There is this spirit in the human soul that I have to go to that which is beyond where I'm now, and then beyond and beyond that. So this should explain the principle of how it is that in fact we reach into heights that we've never contemplated in getting there. we start learning Aleph base. That's simple. But after you learn Aleph base and you start reading, and start learning the Chumash, and start learning the Torah, it opens up a completely different vista. Then you had no idea that this is where it's leading. All the way to AYIN base, Oilers and Keli.
I'd like to ask if I can make a summary in order to get clarity where we're holding in this moment. If I can make a little summary to say what I think what we discussed and where we're holding at.
All right.
So I think we learned that we discussed about there's a makav which is in Tira Tetua, and from there there is Nemshech Ha'ara Begile in the Neshama from the makav of the Tira Tetua. And then we learned that there's a makav of Tira Elua, and from there is not Nimshach Ha'ara Begili, although it has a shaykhs to Oilamas.
No, it says that he has no shaykh to Oilamas. It says ain't a shaykh to Oilamas. And there is no Gi Ha'ara Begilu in
There's no Ha'ara Begili. It's Makav Oilamas.
Or it is Makiv. What way is it? That's it.
Yeah.
In what way is it Makiv? Is it Makiv Oilamas? This is what remains now to understand. If there's no Ha'ara Lo Oilamas, how is it Makiv Lo Oilamas?
So that was explained, like Oineg Verotzen, which it doesn't become functional. It doesn't become a process.
Okay. This is still remain to be discussed, but
okay. So this is, and we also learned that the shoyrish of the kailem. This was discussed today at quite length. That the shoyrish of the kailem is from the oir makev. Like you used to say in the past, the table becomes a table when it's in the house. When it's in the street, it's not a table.
okay. That's a first step for that.
Okay, so I'm just trying to not to get confused. Where do we need to what's our next step to discuss? How the Tira Elor, it's a makav loilamis and ein l'shayches loilamis. Is this what needs to get more clarity?
But yes, what you need more clarity is how is the makif that has no shachas or limits, how does it affect the world?
Okay, because we learned today also about, and I'm just trying to prepare for tomorrow. We learned today also about the shoyrish of the kailim and the makav, which is a step further. I'm trying to see where are we up to?
Okay, this point that the shoyrish of the kailim is from the makif has been introduced, not explained. This is what it's called dua.
It's called?
Yodua. Like I mentioned, Yodua the shoyrish kailim. This is not something which has yet been explained.
Okay, what can we expect the next sheet to be? If I may ask, because we learned two things today, which needs before we learned about the Tire law, and also we learned later about the shoyrish of the kailam.
we are going to learn, Mr. Hashem, the relationship between the Tehillah law and world. And that will be explained on the basis of Sheresh HaKelim.
So Sheresh HaKelim, we have to learn first to understand what means the law having an effect on the world.
That's right.
Okay.
That's what we're going to be.
Yeah, sir.
All right.